the 27th of October 2019 and Elizabeth Maua walks into a police station to report her daughter and grandchildren missing. 20 days later, her worst fears would come to pass as police exhumed 3 rotting bodies. This is the case of Peter Jr., Shanice, and Joyce Yombua. On 25th October 2019, 31-year-old Joyce Yombua packs a small bag for herself and her kids, 10-year-old Shanice and 5-year-old Peter Jr. Her lover and father of her children, Major Peter Mugure, has just sent bus fare for the family to visit him at his military camp in Nanyuki. Major Mugure has been stationed at Laikipia Air Base for 1 year now, having been transferred from Moi Air Base in Nairobi. He was eager to see his children as his daughter's 11th birthday was coming up and he wanted to celebrate with his family. After speaking with her mother on phone, Joyce and her children left their Kayole house in Nairobi and started the 3-hour journey to Nanyuki. Joyce and the children were expected back in Nairobi on Sunday, 27th October 2019, but they did not return. Nobody could reach her on phone and her mother was worried. She made a visit to the police station and filed a missing persons report. When the police questioned a worried Mugure, he stated that he had spent Friday night with Joyce and their children, and on Saturday morning, Joyce had dropped off the children with their friend in Nanyuki town as the two needed to spend some time alone. The two then visited Kimara Springs Hotel at around 3 p.m. and had late lunch. He had intended to book rooms for his family to spend the night but was urgently called back to work and decided to let Joyce and the children travel back to Nairobi. They then left the hotel, went back to the barracks and picked up their bags, then picked the children from Joyce's friend. Mugure then dropped off his family at the bus park at 7 p.m. and left them waiting for a bus as he was in a rush to get back to work. In support of his story, Joyce's phone was found in a 2NTE minibus on Monday evening and was delivered to the police. Soon all media was alert with the news of the missing mother and her children, asking for any information from the public. Soon, Farizana, Joyce's best friend, visited the police to make a statement. She would tell them that she kept in contact with Joyce from Friday when she traveled to Nanyuki until Saturday at 6:30 p.m. when her phone went off. She would say that Joyce and Peter were not in good terms and that Joyce did not trust him. She would also add that Joyce had told her on Saturday morning that while she was taking a shower, Mugure had left with the children and came back alone. When she asked where the children were, he would say that they were with a friend and were okay. Meanwhile, Mwangi, a taxi driver, told police that Major Mugure had on several occasions asked him to help kill Joyce and her children. In fact, on Saturday when they disappeared, Mugure had called Mwangi and asked him to buy and deliver 3 gunny bags. When Mwangi asked what they were for, Mugure refused to answer and cut the call. He said that he was surprised when he saw the news about Joyce and her children. At this point, Mugure was considered a prime suspect and the police dug deeper into his story. They would soon find out that the vehicle where Joyce's phone was found had left Nanyuki at 3 a.m. on Saturday morning for private function in Bomet and was not back in Nanyuki until 11:30 p.m., meaning the vehicle was not in Nanyuki at 7 p.m. when Mugure claimed to have dropped his family off at the bus station. Mugure was arrested by military police on Friday, November 15, 2019 and handed over to DCI in connection with the disappearance of his estranged wife and their 2 children. Detectives searched his phone and recovered his texts, contacts and call logs. They would find several call logs made to 2 numbers on the day his family disappeared. One belonged to the taxi driver, Mwangi, and the other to one Collins Pemba, a 21-year-old casual laborer at the airbase whose duties were to keep the camp clean and would sometimes assist the unmarried soldiers clean their rooms. Pemba was arrested and questioned and would soon reveal the shocking truth. After 24 hours of interrogation, on 16th November 2019, Mugure would lead detectives to a public cemetery in Laikipia where the government disposes of unclaimed bodies and point to a spot on the ground. The decomposing bodies of Joyce and her children would be dug up. They were wrapped in gunny bags and piled on top of each other. They had been missing for 20 days. An autopsy report would show that Sombua was hit with a heavy object severely at the back of her head, and her children were strangled to death using a rope. In exchange for his chilling confession and testimony as a prosecution witness, Pamba would receive just 5 years in prison. He would tell police that on that day, he received a call from Major Mugure at around 10 p.m. who informed him that he had some work to offer him. Mugure told Pamba to meet him at the parking lot of the airbase. Upon arrival, he asked Pamba to follow him to his house, A3. However, Mugure did not open his door but instead opened A4, the house adjacent to his. He asked Pamba to enter the house, and Mugure locked the door, then kept the key in his pocket. He then switched on the lights and Pamba could see what looked like luggage on the bathroom floor. He looked closely and saw plaited hair, a white t-shirt and black trousers. He then realized that the luggage was the body of a human being and was facing downwards. It was the body of Shanice, Mugure's 10-year-old daughter. In the bathtub lay another body in a gunny bag, tied with ropes just as the first one. It was Peter Jr. Realizing that Mugure wanted his help to dispose the bodies, Pamba refused and tried to leave, but Mugure threatened to kill him, saying that they were the only people aware of the dead bodies. Mugure further promised to use his influence and enroll Pamba in the military, and Pamba agreed to help. They then carried the bodies to the boot of Mugure's car, a Subaru Impreza KCP 740F. Then Mugure asked Pamba to follow him to his house, A3, and when inside, Mugure again locked the door. Pamba and Mugure would then put Joyce's body in a gunny bag and carry her to the vehicle, placing it on top of her children. Pamba would say that Sombua's body was so heavy that they had to rest 8 times before reaching the car. Using his rank, Mugure was able to drive out of the base without raising suspicion and proceeded to a public cemetery in Laikipia where the government disposes of unclaimed bodies. That's where they buried the 3 in a shallow grave, and Pamba was then dropped off in town at around 1 a.m. It was also discovered that Major Mugure was married to a fellow officer and had 2 children. This was also stated in his bail application to court. It seemed that his relationship with Joyce Sombua was an affair that went on for too long. In fact, his mother and sisters knew nothing of Sombua and her children, but knew of Mugure's wife. At some point, Mugure abandoned Sombua and her children, which forced her to file a child support case at the Children's Court in Nairobi. Mugure had lost this child support case, which was ruled in favor of Joyce Sombua. Mugure had allegedly denied siring the children, saying he was therefore not responsible for their upkeep. But DNA test results confirmed that he was their biological father and was ordered to pay Kenyan shillings 75,000 monthly for the children's upkeep. Mugure then selfishly committed this horrible crime to avoid making these child support payments. It was also revealed that Sombua's mother had cautioned her from going to Nanyuki, but Joyce wanted to obey the court order and let Mugure see his children, as she did not want to complicate matters. Also, while in prison, Mugure had sent his sister Nancy Mugure to visit Pamba in Kerugoya prison to ask him to recant his confession. Pamba would instead offer this information to the police. Joyce Sombua, Shanice and Peter Jr. were buried on Saturday, December 7, 2019 in Kitui County in a somber ceremony. The 3 were buried in a single grave as a family. As the trial continues, I pray that Joyce Sombua and her children receive the justice they deserve. Be sure to stay tuned for an update on this case. Be safe and see you in my next video.